I am BG. Alright. So, from the New Wrinkle on the Brain podcast family, we bring you what we're going to call Unity number 2. We have a guest, something new, something good. We're going to go ahead and move on. We're doing some information and also maybe some things y'all are thinking about but have some questions about. So, this is just to give information to really help everybody at the end. So, if let's go ahead and introduce everyone. We got Allan here.
How are you doing today? My name is Allan Wooten. I work as an energy consultant for a company called Pure Energy, which has been a local San Antonio-based business since 2014. We specialize in helping homeowners make the switch from fossil fuels over to a renewable energy source. And I'm here today to talk a bit about that, reasons why you should really make the switch, and just some relevant data that goes into why you would really want to even just look into making your own home more energy efficient.
There you go. Great. I'm sure everyone's kind of concerned about that. I know in South Texas we have people are gonna have a higher bill this month. Because it's getting hot. Might be running the AC a lot. So for a lot of, I live around a lot of homeowners. I've heard a lot of people talk, and one of the biggest things I hear, I guess, questions wise, with any renewable energy, really, in the long run, I guess, after, once it's all installed, everything's done, can it be moved if we move or something? Or if I sell the house, am I giving that to the sellers? And better yet, does that help in the selling process if I sell the home?
Okay, so you're asking what happens to the solar after you've already got it installed for yourself.
Correct.
Well, it does multiple different things. The one question to really answer right off the bat is no, it doesn't go with you to the next home that you would move to. Once solar's been affixed to a roof, it counts as roofing for the home. So as such, it becomes a portion of the home. It's just like if you were to put a pool in the backyard.
Not part of the home.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a system that's attached to the home and works specifically for that. So when you would sell your home, you would actually be getting around 20 to 30% equity on it, because that particular home would now be producing electricity for that particular structure. Now, in the reselling process, think of the big benefits and the immediate savings you would get as any homeowner buying obviously a new place for your family to live. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't want the size of the bill, like the size of the utility bills that would normally come with a family your size, or maybe just with electricity you use. Mm-hmm. Now, having solar on there instantly reduces their utility bill, either drastically or completely eliminating it, which is instantly a big benefit and shows immediate savings, which has been very evidenced in California. A lot of people won't buy a home until it already has solar on it. Granted, their laws are more in favor of making the switch over to a renewable energy source, but just like anything else in America, when it comes to environmental law, California tends to be the forerunner in what we end up adopting.
True.
They pass something, usually the East Coast gets it, and it just kind of collapses down to the Midwest until you get to Central America, and it's there.
Yep. True. Very true. Definitely agree. With, I guess, the current online climate, how people talk online on Facebook, and different online networks have shows now. Get your homesteads ready. There's what is it?
Like
a
doomsday
new,
scenarios.
Yeah. There's
that.
a whole how do you make any prepper shows? Yeah. It's like a whole thing now. Is that something you see, or
you do see that, but you see that more on the outlinings of usually large municipal cities. It's usually people that don't have access to the major utility grids that city people usually have. So for them, solar becomes not only just a big benefit, but almost a necessity, because it really does benefit them. They'd be able to keep their freezer turned on in the nights, and be able to keep it turned on just throughout the months, to where they would usually have to be using some other preparation to be able to store it. It also gives them the modern luxuries that we all really work towards nowadays. Because usually there's only been 3 things that you ever needed to survive, right? You needed water, food, and shelter. Yep. Clothes on your back was kind of iffy, because in the very end you could wear a leaf if you're just bashful.
Yeah.
But shelter is the thing that really kept you warm in the long run. Well, nowadays, because of the things that people actually work for, most of it runs on electricity in some way, shape, or form.
True.
So to live in today's modern society, you really do need an energy source. Now, people buy their cars because they know it's an investment that's going to benefit them. They won't have payments, and they'll actually own it. They won't owe nobody nothing. Same reason why they own their house. Same reason why you put ownership on anything, so you can see and actually control what you do with your property. And that's how solar ends up benefiting those people as well. Because at this point, you're producing your own energy. Now, what you do with that energy changes based on every utility company you use, but for the better part, so long as the major energy company is offering you some sort of net metering or a buyback, all of a sudden they're paying you for a resource that you produced.
True.
Which gives you that financial independence to really be like, hey, I can either try and turn a profit on this, which is kind of harder to do within inner cities. But again, you were asking about people in urban areas, well, not urban areas, but like more
out
rural.
of town,
like kind of not attached to major grids. For
farm,
them, what they have the option for is to actually get a battery pack for themselves, so which allows them like complete. I forgot the exact word, but it gives them the individuality and the ability to be able to produce for themselves. Basically, it allows them to, well, basically be in charge.
True.
Which is the whole reason you buy anything, because it's yours. You want to be in charge of it.
Exactly. And that really goes a long way with ownership. Because if someone owns that land way out, and doesn't have access to electricity, it may be something that they've had in the family for a long time. Maybe this was, grandpa's old farm, so we're gonna go and re-inhabit it. People don't think about the electricity or other utilities you may need.
But that's also another great thing about the product that's being offered and the way solar actually helps people. Because if they ever decide to pass it down to their next of kin, it already has a 25-year guaranteed linear warranty, which is a guarantee on production over time. So long as nothing major, damages these panels, they're gonna be able to provide for you at a guaranteed rate over 25 years.
Nice.
Now, they are projected to actually last quite a bit longer after that, so long as you maintain the system. However, solar hasn't been around that long to where we're able to really give you a solidified number is like, hey, it's really this year that they start really malfunctioning.
Yeah.
Because we haven't hit that stage with the technology, right?
Renewable energy, that's fun. Because with solar and, Texas is a big state.
Yeah.
A lot of sun.
Definitely a lot of sun. There's a lot of land, dude. I mean, it's basically countries in itself. That's why I love Texas.
Oh yeah. With what you've been doing now, what do you, I guess, price-wise, I'm sure people ask, hey, if you're coming to my house, you're giving me this product, price-wise, how
does this work? Obviously, you need to find out what you're going to be investing into. Because first and foremost, this is something that you're investing into.
Correct.
But the greatest thing about it being an investment is you literally take yourself off of an expense, which would be your usual utility bill. Because at that point, no matter how much you throw at them, you're never going to see like a full-on real return besides the single product that they provided.
Correct.
It's a straightforward business trade. They give you this, you give them money, you never see that money again.
Yep.
The thing about pricing is it varies individual from person to person. Because, anybody can have the exact same floor plans as each other, but the way that you live your life changes the way that you actually use your energy.
True.
Your neighbor might have a pool, you don't. Having a pool does increase the size of a system that would be needed.
True.
But you could equal them just by having more people within your home, because at that point, more people using electricity. So in the very end, pricing varies entirely on the home itself. Now, the way my company works and the way most reputable companies in Texas work is they usually get your utility bill, and they look at the amount of kilowatt usage that you use throughout the year. And at that point, they try to build you a system that's favorable for you within the market that you're in.
Gotcha.
And then on top of that, markets definitely change the kind of systems that you would have to use. Like for instance, in San Antonio, they have net metering and a buyback system which is dramatically less than what you averagely pay them. So at this point, they're the ones truthfully benefiting from it. So we try to build systems according to your exact usage. Other places, they only apply like a buyback system, which is maybe at a lower percentage than a full 1. Instead of a 1-for-1, it's like 1-for-0.5 or something. So at that point, in those situations, those homeowners would want to go with larger systems. So they're producing more to actually get that money back and have that eventually save them money and also produce a revenue source for them as well.
True.
But it all really varies from place to place. But here in San Antonio, the average house home uses an 8 kilowatt system.
Okay.
Now, that gives you a yearly production of about an annual usage. Like your bill would show that you use about 12,500 kilowatt hours throughout the year, just averaged out. Well, an 8 kilowatt system will produce almost exactly that amount. It's 12,493 kilowatt hours.
Okay.
Now, all of these are usually sold on a 5-hour standard, which means that as long as you get 5 hours of sun a day, these numbers will stay exactly true. Because it's all based on averages, you know?
Yeah.
You don't want to sell off-the-wall numbers or anything like that. Now, if you're able to get a better quality panel, that production can actually be more. Depending on where you are, you can actually see more production from your system than that average 5 hours. Now, the cost for that, for the homeowner, if they decided that they didn't want to do solar, just something they didn't want to do, they want to continue paying CPS. One thing you have to understand, electricity rises in price every single year. In fact, this is the first year that renewable energy, outshone fossil fuels. It's, I believe, a Business Week or a Forbes article that showed that. Now, in addition to that, there's another Forbes article that's out there that shows you that solar is actually more cost-effective to use over fossil fuels because you own the system in the very end. And it averages down to what you usually pay to your utility company is what your actual watt costs through solar. But utility companies add extra things that go on top of the electricity you use. It goes into the production, the maintenance, usually some kind of availability charge because you're attached to their grid. And
service charges.
Yeah, so it really does vary. But in San Antonio, it's about $67,000 that the average homeowner would spend to CPS over the lifetime of just paying off their panels instead. Now, in this particular case, the total system size actually cost $35,000. But there's subsidies and everything being provided right now, which is why not only homeowners should be making the switch, corporations should. And if you pay attention to any major corporation that's here in America itself, all of them have made a vow to really switch over to green energy. Now, any corporation, especially that large, the only reason they would do that is for two. One, it's good publicity. You're ahead of the times. You're able to lead into the future like they've always had. But the second one primarily is the fact that it affects their bottom line.
True.
Now, the same thing happens for homeowners as well. They receive the same kind of bonuses that these corporations are receiving right now. Right now, through CPS, which is the local provider here in San Antonio, they are offering a rebate back of $2,500. Now, if you use a locally made product, which my company does, which is Mission Solar, which is actually not very far from where we're recording right now.
Oh, see, that's down the road, actually.
Yeah. So we use a locally sourced product that has a proven record of being top tier quality. Now, the total system size, again, came out to be about $35,000. But with subsidies through not only CPS's rebates, but the 30% federal tax credit, which is offered, through the federal government themselves, which is something you automatically pay for. It's your own taxes. You're already paying into this, you might as well benefit from it, right? But they would end up receiving just around $2,700 back to help pay off that system, which actually brings their payments amount for solar to be cheaper than what they're already currently paying their utility provider. Because that's the way solar works. It locks you in at a fixed rate. So this way, you can actually budget correctly. And instead of having to pay the inflating rates that happens with any utility company, because all of them are for profit. They have to be. That's the kind of sector they work in. Now, instead of feeding into their profits, you actually own the product. And you own your own electricity. At this point, they end up paying you for any surplus that you produce. And depending on the area, that's where it becomes either super lucrative or you simply take advantage of the fact that they give you so much that you build according to your market.
You're right.
Yeah, because one of the biggest things I found in my job is that people get really bad faulty information. Because there is a lot of information online. I swear to God, you will
Google
hear
it,
stories that are like,
Yeah.
solar was like the big saver for me. It did all of this. I can now afford to do that, that, and that. And like, great stories. But equal, 50-50. Are stories where it's just horrible. Like, they have a system that they're having to pay for, which is the total amount of usually their, medium-sized bill, plus their utility bill, which is going to be higher than even that. And those are the horrible stories that usually turn people off. But no one ever realizes that solar still is a newer technology. Like, if you had asked me 10 years ago if it was a good idea to switch over to it, personally, I would say the technology wasn't there yet, because the durability that it hit just around 2014, 2015 was the kind of durability that you actually needed to where it became a good investment. But before that, the capabilities were there, but you had to spend a massive front end to just be able to have access to it. And then the amount of subsidies that you received other places just weren't really as great as they were just about 5-6 years ago. It was actually about 5-6 years ago that everyone really should have made that switch.
That was when it should have happened. And even new builders started doing that. Now you see new homes, they're automatically putting that on there. So that is something that is being offered now. But then I don't think people really know. I don't think.
Yeah, they don't really know. And then on top of that, the information they get online, it may not be relevant to their actual locale. Because you get people posting on message boards, and then you have someone from like Michigan talking about Texas weather and like why it's not going to benefit them when it's entirely two separate places. Because they're trying to compare experiences and compare companies. Because that's the biggest thing, is like every company is different. So long as the utility company you're with provides some kind of net metering or a buyback program, solar is definitely lucrative for you. It'll definitely benefit you. The ones that don't, you probably shouldn't be investing in them, because they're really looking more to save a buck, not really expand on their business model. Because one of the biggest shocks to me was things that I've noticed just around my community alone. You're pretty sure you've seen the gas stations with the solar on like the pumps. All right, now that's a fossil fuel company. Who is their enemy right now?
They're the monopoly.
They're the monopoly, right? But who's actually encroaching on that? It's renewable energy sources. That's what's trying to put them out of business, right? They're adopting solar.
Quickly.
What does that say?
Very quickly.
One, it either knows that they know that it is the future. It is what everyone's going to end up doing, and when it becomes the norm, subsidies for it go away. It's just going to be something that you have to invest into. If not, you're going to end up with some kind of tax.
Correct.
Because in fact, during the Democratic debate, they were talking about a carbon tax. And I'm pretty sure that anybody that has some kind of renewable energy source, or at least has invested into it, would have some kind of reprieve from that.
No, of course it should.
You would hope, right?
But
But you never really know. So the more that you can reduce that carbon footprint, the better. But bigger than that, whether or not you believe in global warming at all, it's happening. So we should at least do what we possibly can to preserve the limited amount of land that we actually have. Because, humans are just one of those races that just continuously expand. And if you live within the San Antonio region or any of the surrounding areas, give me a call at this number.
Well, I do thank you guys again, for everyone who supported the new Wrinkle on the Brain podcast. Like, share, and subscribe. We are going to be expanding this. This is going to get a lot bigger and a lot better. So I do thank you for everything. Until that new wrinkle happens, guys.